Howdy, howdy, lads, imbies, and lasses. If you live in the Harris Branch neighborhood in Austin, Texas, my name's Anthony, and I'm your neighbor. This is another monthly update from the residential Harris Branch HOA meeting. These meetings happen every third Thursday of the month. There are notices that are sent out via town square emails. These happen at 6:30 p.m., usually go much further than 8 p.m., but this will be a recap, so you don't have to go to them if you don't want to, but always feel free to drop in and sit by and listen or bring us your praises or complaints, and we'll do our best to try and address them either at the meeting or we'll follow up an email. The agenda, you can see this. It's always posted in the meeting notice before the meeting starts, so you will know what we'll be talking about. Number 1, call meeting to order, establish quorum. All members were present at this meeting. Number 2, the homeowner forum. There were some homeowners there, however, they were just there to listen. There was nothing that was discussed. 3, approve the prior July 20th committee meeting minutes. That was done. 4, the treasurer's report. We still don't have a treasurer on the board. However, with 3 spots opening up for this election, there are some candidates out there that I think will be a good fit as far as a treasurer goes. And we'll talk about that later in the video. Mike has been doing the treasurer's report as the president. Currently, one of the largest things that was noticed being over budget was the legal expense. This has been one of those push and pull instances when it comes to, we used to have a lot of dues that weren't being paid. However, they were not being gone after in a very aggressive manner by our attorney. And the board, a couple cycles ago, decided to vote a more aggressive stance on it. So any outstanding balance over 500, the attorney was to start actioning. This has brought in a lot of dues that used to not come in, closed the gap at least on some of the budget stuff. However, the cost of the attorney to do these things, that has come into question. We're still waiting on a report to see, is it worth it? 5, the president's report. This is going to be mixed in for the rest of the video, as was happened at the meeting. 6, the community manager. This will be mixed in updates at the rest of the meeting. 7, the committee reports aid, neighborhood representatives. There was no update there. B, architectural change. No major update there. There's a video if you're unsure on how to submit for an architectural change. This is the ACC, the Architectural Change Committee. There's a video on this channel called the ACC Requests, and you can learn how to do that if you have any changes you're wanting to do outside. D, communications, no updates on that. E, arts and crafts. Sharon Campbell is moving out of the neighborhood, so we are not going to have her running this. I believe Valerie, one of the board members, mentioned that she wanted to run it, so we'll find out come October if she is on board and ready to go for that. F, the dog park group, maintenance gate, cracks in the ground. At this point, we're still working on getting the approval for the trees at the dog park. Most of that doesn't really get moving until we get into fall. You don't really want to plant plants or trees in this heat, especially with this record all-time since recording July and August. So those will start moving much faster once we get into the cooler seasons and we can start putting those out. There was concerns about the small dog park with the large dog park. The fence had a gap underneath it that was allowing the larger dogs to get underneath. However, it was brought to my attention that there are bricks that are supposed to be at the bottom of those fences. Someone has said that they are there. I reached out to the dog park WhatsApp group if you are interested in joining that group to meet other dog owners and meet up out at the park. The link should be down in the description below to confirm this, as I haven't had a chance to get out there to see if those bricks are still there. The dog run that was offered by one of the homeowners, I have yet to see it. I haven't heard anyone say it's shown up. As far as the tables and sun sail shades, that has all kind of evaporated as well. We get a lot of interest, a lot of good ideas, and then the follow-through kind of falls off. So we'll see if we get any more interest and then actual action on this. G, Emergency Planning and Safety Committee. The article that was sent out, everybody on Town Square. Again, if you haven't signed up for Town Square, please, there's a link in the description below. Sign up for Town Square. All of the information that you could possibly want to know about the HOA and what we're up to is there. And you will also get emails when notices come out, so that way you can be informed on what's going on. I think we only have something like 400 homeowners who've actually created their accounts and visit that site, and it could be even lower. And remember, we are a neighborhood or neighborhoods of over 2,020 homes. So we really need to get that pumped up. We need a lot more interaction, and I understand we need a lot more input and engagement with homeowners to get them to want to even do that. The fire concerns are very real. One of the things to consider, there is a wonderful map where if you're concerned, if you are in a high-risk area, you can put your address in and review it. In many instances, most of the homes in our neighborhoods are not in an area that is high risk for fire. Of course, be very careful. Don't have any fires in your backyard. Make sure you're not doing open pit grilling. Those are normally the instances where fires get out of control because someone's cooking outside or doing something with a fire when we're in a burn ban. The second biggest piece on the notices you should have gotten if you are signed up for Town Square is the stage 2 drought restrictions. As you can see over here, we are hurting for water. The city has a plan on, how we can use our water and the best way we can do it, so that way we ensure we still have water for our future and in the meantime. Remember, this is our drinking water. Be very cognizant of the restrictions here. Make sure you're watering correctly. Don't waste this water because this is what we need to stay alive. And as much as I understand everybody wants a green lawn, it's much more important that we're able to have water to drink than your lawn is to be green. And I know there's some misconceptions on green lawns mean it protects your foundation from movement. This is not the case. Your lawn roots are way too short to do anything of significance to the soil. You need deep root systems, native grasses, native plants, trees that hold that soil together. Your turf lawn is not going to save your house. You need to be doing things such as watering your foundation, which are all part of the things that are allowed on using soaker hoses. So I'll scroll through here. Automatic irrigation hose-in watering is restricted to 1 day per week. Automatic irrigation runtime is reduced by 3 hours with cutoff at 5 a.m. Don't be watering during the heat of the day. You lose too much to evaporation. Do it in the evening or early morning. There are people who are watching, and there is a 311 request that we sent out. So if you see something where somebody's wasting a bunch of our drinking water, fill out that 311 request with the evidence, submit it, so that way we can either update that person and say, hey, this has changed, please don't do that anymore, or we can start doing more drastic measures to protect our drinking water. This also goes for businesses. They're normally much worse than homeowners. 8 old business, we're going to burn through a lot of these as many of them have been on the agenda for quite a while. A is still pending, B is still pending. You can go watch the previous videos if you want to find out what's going on with them. Not much movement on them since those updates were given. C, speed measurements, signs. We're looking at 2024. If you haven't filled out the call to action requesting that we get crosswalks and speed calming devices on Farm Haven and St. Marion, as well as some sort of leveling for those roads, please, please, please do that. The more voices we get, the more traction we have with the city. I know that we're in a queue. I don't know if we yell and scream more, if that will get us ahead in the queue, but it never hurts. D, community enhancement, enrichment goals, list and survey to be sent to residents. This went out back in May. Again, if you're not signed up for Town Square, you might not have gotten it. However, it was asking for input, and you could have put anything in there that you were looking for us to do in the community as far as what you would like to see. Out of 2020 homes, we only got 107. That was condensed down. One of the biggest things that was requested was more community events. That is something that the board is working on. There are a few members currently that are interested in running that, and we're still waiting to see what they come up with as far as the community events they want to introduce and lead. E, the fitness center replacement equipment. One of the big issues right now is our budget is very constrained. We're very close to, if not over. We had a lot of unexpected expenses when it came to the winter storm, when it came to the pool, as far as additional fixes that we had to do, and then there's been a little bit over budget with the attorney. So those are all things that have put a little tight squeeze on stuff as far as getting things done, but I know the board is very committed to doing a complete refresh of the gym and the amenity center. However, this is something that may likely have to wait until next year after we see how many dues come in a timely manner, and we are already well ahead of the curve when it comes to getting the quotes on what it is that we're looking for to update all the gym equipment as well as the flooring and stuff like that. F, the call to action. I talked about that earlier. If you haven't done it, please do it. I think there is a link to it in my previous video, so just click the description. It's below the video. Click description, show more. It'll show you all the links to all the important information and community groups in our HOA. G, summer movie at the pool. That's already completed. I hear it was a success. H, amenity center enhancement, pickleball, volleyball, horseshoe, and tetherball. Valerie is very invested in updating things for teenagers, youth, something that will give them an outlet to do stuff on, albeit most of that stuff won't really be usable if we don't have great tree canopy and shade, because you're only going to be able to use those things for a very limited time during the day. So again, it's so much more important that we focus on reducing the heat island effect and providing shade for our residents, so that way we can then add these things in later. I, the Community Enhancement Enrichment Committee, I'm still committed to getting a tree wall on the Blue Goose Road. However, that'll be a phase 3. We've gotten some of the bids in for the Farm Haven in St. Marin, and we're talking 66,000 to 98,000, and that's not even the whole roads, because what we're talking about is a lot of plantings, a lot of landscaping, and once these plants are established, because we're focusing on putting in drought-tolerant native species, they should be able to handle the weather much more appropriately than some of the other options that are out there from the big box stores. J, the 2022 audit update. One of the big things we found out in this audit is that our trees are not included in it. One of the most valuable things in the neighborhood, especially when you consider how much time it takes to grow a tree, to get the shade. I know anybody who's gone out walking or jogging, and you've gone from one of our more established neighborhoods to one of our newer neighborhoods, I'm not just preaching to the choir here, but it becomes just this unbearable hellscape. You immediately can tell when you're in a new neighborhood where there's no trees and no shade versus when you're in an established neighborhood where there's trees and bushes and stuff like that. And if this summer hasn't woken enough people up to the immense importance of doing this, then we are in for a world of hurt. And so we need to get these things in the ground. We need to get them established, and we need to focus on them of the utmost priority. That being said, we need to ensure that this is included in the audit. I've talked about this in previous videos. We can fix a gym in a month. We can put up new fences in a week. We can build a volleyball court in a week. It takes decades to get trees that are big enough and established enough to provide cover for this neighborhood. We cannot delay this stuff anymore, and we need members on the board who are focused on that. The RFP Landscape bids. This is something that Vanessa's running through. She's trying to find a new landscaper, or at least see what our options are out there. M, mainline irrigation, Sterling Bridge with sidewalk removal. This is another one that's been sitting on the books. The concrete repair for this is very expensive. I am very against the irrigation systems that are just spraying water on turf grass. We need to focus them on bubblers. We need to focus them on flower beds, so that way we're getting, again, the best return on investment for us and our children, as well as these things, when a person wants to move to someplace, are very much considered. So again, if you're focused on the value of your homes, you want great landscaping. Now, that repair has been sitting because it's almost $5,000, and we've been asking, at least myself has been asking, where that is going. What is it irrigating? Waiting for a better update from the community manager, Raquel, and Sunscapes as well. 2023 new state legislative requirements for the HOA. That has been implemented. One of the biggest things was they tried to claw back the right of homeowners to build fences in their front yards. And of course, and very interestingly, they left exceptions for police officers and politicians to not be under the restrictions of HOA mandating you can or can't have a fence in your front yard. P, install gate in Lakeview South on Harris Branch. I've already gotten 2 bids for that. I'm waiting on a third one from Raquel. Hopefully we can get that all in this month, and we can get that done so that way folks are able to freely move between that area. If you're interested in what that's about, the previous video, I go into that in more detail. Q, changing bylaws, homeowners voting percent from 67% to 27%. This is one of the biggest things that's constraining our neighborhood, because our neighborhood was set up by a developer, so they took the generic rules that has been created by them to make sure that they stay in power and they get to do all those things, and we took over, and unfortunately we have taken on those rules, and that has prevented us from doing a lot of things in regards to updating the things that we want to do in the neighborhood. So again, all this is, and this is going to be a long, long journey. We're going to have Election Buddy up with people voting. We're going to do community events where you can come, log into the laptop and do voting that way, as well as paper ballots. But we need to get 67% of y'all to vote on this measure. And all it is just to reduce the 67% to 27%, which is our average turnout for voting in elections. So this is a more reasonable number that will allow us to change our bylaws and be much more nimble and agile when it comes to changing and updating with the times and addressing things that are coming down the pipeline that will impact all of us. Our Make Ready bid for ATX Facility Solutions. This is our new porter service. We're still working out the details on when they're going to do trash pickup. It was a significant jump in cost. I think it went from $26,000 to $54,000 with a lot of expenses to us. However, one of the biggest complaints in the neighborhood is the cleanliness of it. Now, that's always a tricky thing. All it takes is one pickup with a bed full of trash that's not covered driving down Harris Branch Parkway, and it looks like the place has never been cleaned. Unfortunately, we don't want to go after the companies that make all this trash and then make us deal with it, which keeps adding to our trash mountain and sometimes even sets it on fire. So that's one of the big things that we moved forward with. We're no longer going to be using UNRUS, so we're hoping that after this company takes over, we'll see an improvement in the cleanliness of the facilities and the general groundskeeping, but we'll find that out as time progresses. T, extended pool season. The pool season has been extended. It's going to do all year round. It will still be constrained by the cleanings on Mondays and the closing at 10 p.m., I believe, but there will be an update with the updated pool hours. There just won't be lifeguards there. All right, 9, new business, the tree trimming proposal for the entire community. This, again, I mentioned, we have not been including our trees in our audit, one of our most valuable resources in the neighborhood. And when you consider how much time it takes to grow those things, those trees have been neglected for over 30 years. They haven't had real trimmings. So we got a bid from a local arborist, SunGrow, and another arborist out of Dallas who did our trees during the storm. I think those are looking in the 66, 67,000, but that's going to be one of the things that's so important, because if we had had that maintenance on our trees when this last ice storm came through, we would have lost a lot less of our canopy because they would have been thinned out and not as heavy with ice because they had been maintained properly. So that's something that I'm going to be driving home because we need to get that done. We can't wait on that anymore, and we need to ensure that the audit now has provisions for our trees in greenscape areas. B, fire emergency notice. Again, I talked about this. If you're interested in seeing where your house fits on the threat risk, there's a Texas A&M Forest Service website. It's literally texaswildfirerisk.com. You can go, as you can see, and put in your address, and it'll tell you if you're at a threat, what threat that is. Again, most of the folks in the Harris Ranch neighborhood are not a high threat that you need to worry about going out and cutting down our native spaces, or that you're going to have a big wildfire that's just going to burn through here. That all being said, your biggest threat is your neighbors cooking, barbecuing, knocking something over, or doing an open fire, which I don't know why anyone would do that, but we've seen it happen. And don't throw any fireworks either. There is a couple other things here to put on new business. These came up in the later parts of this month. One big news, I've been still working with the city of Austin and the Austin watershed, as well as TreeFolks. We did a 700 tree planting over in the Gilliland Creek. It's off of St. Marin by Kilbarchin. You've probably seen it with there's got bird boxes that I installed out there. There's a new no mow grow sign out there that explains what's going on in that area, something that's really important for these riparian zones. I've talked about this in other videos if you're not familiar with it. It's the space in between a creek and the uplands where certain species of trees and stuff, plants grow. It's very important that you don't cut those down and mow those down, because what those things do is they retain the soil. They prevent it from eroding. So if you are a homeowner who's on the edge of a creek, you're going to want to keep those there, because as we start to get the flood season or monsoon seasons, and they're going to be worse and worse, shorter albeit, but worse, you don't want to start seeing that soil go away. You want those plants and trees there to hold on to it and brace for you against that torrent of water. So we've identified another spot here. This spot over here, this is a water quality pond. However, my understanding is Watershed has handed it back over to the Harris Branch neighborhood, and it's in this plot. And so what we're going to be doing is setting up a ready set plant. If you don't follow TreeFolks, I believe in one of my older videos I had the link to them, but just TreeFolks in Austin, Texas, you'll find their website. They do things called ready set plant, where they come out and put a whole bunch of saplings in the ground. We water them once, and then it's about 30% survival rate without any intervention. So it's a really good program. You get to meet your neighbors. You get to understand how easy it is to put saplings in the ground. You get outside, and you can help with us reforesting a lot of these sections that the developer destroyed when they built this neighborhood. So that's in the pipeline. We're also eventually looking at this area over here, which is a floodplain. However, we're still waiting for the approval from the city engineers and from Watershed to say, hey, yeah, it's fine to do a canopy in that area, which will be really exciting if we can get that done. So that's one piece that's coming up. I'll have more information on that in another video when we get the details on when it will be. And if you're interested in coming out and participating, we could absolutely use the help. Another item that I brought up on Nextdoor, and so let's see. An additional piece, unfortunately, the Master Board approved the payout of $400,000 from the Enterprise Texas Pipeline. This is in the commercial area, and I put this up on Nextdoor. This is where this pipeline is going to run through. This is going to be a natural gas pipeline with other material running in it. You can see it's going to run right here, and then here's another thing of the properties that's going to run through. This is going to be anywhere from 6 feet deep to 60 feet deep, and it's going to go through underneath our watershed. It's going to go through a lot of areas where we have large trees that are protected. They're going to try and do boring, as far as my understanding, as opposed to top excavating. However, there will be sections where they're going to just clear cut all of that, and once that's clear cut, it stays that way. We're never going to get that back. So if you can, the biggest thing we can do right now is contact their headquarters, tell them we don't want them there. You can see here on the screen, the number for their main line is 713-381-6500. Unfortunately, most of the entire board, except for myself, basically rolled over, accepted the $400K, said there was nothing we can do because of eminent domain. However, right now, I've been reaching out to the Army Corps of Engineers to see if they actually have all the correct permitting, because there's going to be a significant impact to our watershed. So hopefully there's some additional things we can do to throw some wrenches in the machine, because the last thing we need, especially again with this current season we've had, is additional gas pipelines running through our neighborhood and running anywhere, to be honest. The last piece of new business, and this came out kind of before I could get the video done, so we're adding it in here. The Harris Branch Residential HOA Board elections. We've got 3 spots open. It looks like Mike and David are not rerunning. The only person who's currently on the board who is going to be rerunning is Vanessa. You should have gotten your special code. I highly recommend doing this as opposed to the paper ballot. You get 3 choices. If you're interested in the candidate, you can look at their information. This will give you the application that they provided. I know for certain Vinny, she's been working on the ACC for about a year or so now. Very talented individual. Definitely has my support when it comes to the treasurer aspects. We still need somebody into that position, so that is one of my top picks. My other neighbor here is Katie Patillo. This is an individual who has helped me a lot when it comes to water conservation. We've worked with the UT professors in regards to studies on native flora and fauna that live in our neighborhood that we were able to protect and educate homeowners on why they needed to not necessarily poison and kill them, but to leave them there so we could study them and learn about them. So definitely another top pick. Then we have Melody LeBlanc, I'm not very sure on who that is. And then Vanessa. Vanessa's been great. She's worked with me on quite a few things in regards to getting stuff pushed through the board. The other person I recommend in my top picks here is Jose Morales. This is an individual who's been at many of the meetings, definitely aligns with a lot of the goals of the other individuals that I spoke about. So if you're looking for my top picks, those are the ones that I have. And all you'll do is simply hit continue, and that will submit your vote, and you're good to go. All right, so we've had a very big year. I hope most of you guys are still surviving. I know everyone's foundation has split apart, and we have all lost all of our savings because we now have to fix our homes. But that aside, I hope everyone's staying cool. I hope everyone's staying safe. I really appreciate you watching these videos. If you have any questions, comments, praises, or complaints, put them in the comment section below. Hit like or subscribe. That way you'll get an update when these videos are posted. I'll post them on Nextdoor. However, sometimes those posts get buried. That all being said, y'all stay safe out there. Take care. Bye.